Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I make knitting tutorials and today I'm going to show you how to knit this beautiful baby sweater. This sweater is made to fit 1 to 2 years old baby. I'll be guiding you to knit this sweater from start to finish, so you don't need to worry if you haven't worked up any strapped projects before this. You should have no problem knitting this up. Let's talk about the construction. So this sweater is started from the back. We are going to knit the back panel first and then pick up stitches for the front panels. We are going to do some neckline shaping, join both the front panels and knit the front panel in flat. Later on we are going to pick up stitches for the sleeves and knit them in flat. And all of this is joined together using the seamless mattress stitch. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. But before we start, here are some knitting abbreviations that I'm going to use throughout the video for written instructions. So go ahead and take a good look at them. Let's quickly take a look at the supplies that we're going to need. So the yarn that I'm going to use today is the premium acrylic anti-peel yarn from the hobby store in the color light gray, mustard and sky blue. So the recommended needle size for this is 4.5mm to 5.5mm needles, and for today's project I'm going to use the 4.5mm needles for knitting the ribbing, and for knitting the actual body I'm going to use 5mm needles. So other than that, you're also going to need a measuring tape, a scissor, some stitch markers and a tapestry needle. And once you have all the things ready, we can go ahead and start the video. Here I have prepared a sample swatch using 5mm needles in stockinette stitch, and let us quickly go ahead and measure it. So I cast on 20 stitches using the 5mm needles and I knit in stockinette stitch, and that gives me around, the width is about 4.5 inches and I did total 16 rows, and 16 rows gives me around 3.2 inches. But I'm not going to worry much about the length because I can manipulate it by knitting fewer rows or add more rows. The main thing that I'm going to see is the width. So the width is 4.5 inches with 20 stitches. You can also go ahead and do the swatch. It gives you a rough idea of how your garment is going to turn out. And once you have your sample swatch ready, we can go ahead and start with the cast on. Using the long tail cast on method, we are going to cast on 58 stitches for the back panel. So I'm using the light gray color to start the ribbing. You can use any color that you like, and we are going to start knitting from the back panel. And I'm not going to go in detail with the long tail cast on method in this video. I have done a full tutorial for it. You can find the link to it in the description box below. Once you have finished casting on stitches, we can go ahead and start knitting row number 1. So row number 1, we are going to start with a knit stitch. So insert your needle knitwise and knit the very first stitch. Next, bring yarn to the front and we are going to purl the second stitch. Again, yarn to the back. We are going to do knit 1, yarn to the front, purl 1. So basically we are going to do knit 1, purl 1 till the end of the row. Last 2 stitches remaining, I'm going to knit 1 and finish off this row with a purl stitch. So we have finished knitting row number 1. Next, turn your work and we can start knitting row number 2. So row number 2 is same as row number 1. We are going to start with a knit stitch. Insert your needle knitwise and we are going to knit 1, yarn to the front, purl 1. And if you're someone who gets confused with a knit stitch and purl stitch, here's a quick tip. So if you look carefully, a knit stitch has a little V at the bottom and a purl stitch has a bump or bar at the bottom. So the next stitch has a little V, so we are going to knit that. Knit 1, and the next stitch has a bar or bump at the bottom. We need to purl that. So you're going to knit 1, purl 1 till the end of row 2 as well. So continue to knit in 1 by 1 ribbing till the end of the row, and next you are going to repeat row number 1 and knit in 1 by 1 ribbing until you have finished knitting total 7 rows of ribbing. Here I have finished doing 7 rows of 1 by 1 ribbing. Next we are going to transfer the stitches to 5mm needles and we are going to start knitting the body. So take your 5mm needles and you are going to simply knit and transfer all the stitches from the 4.5mm needles onto the 5mm needles. So insert your needle knitwise and you are going to knit through each and every stitch on this row and transfer all the stitches onto the 5mm needles. And once you have finished transferring all the stitches onto your 5mm needles, you are going to turn your work, and on the next row we are going to purl through all the stitches. So from now on we are going to start working with the stockinette stitch. So when we are working with this stockinette stitch, on the right side we are going to knit through all the stitches, and on the wrong side, which is this side, we are going to purl through all the stitches of the row. On the next row we are going to do the color change. So if you want to work this sweater in single color, that is also fine. You just skip the color changes that I'm doing. So for adding a new color, we are going to go ahead and snip the yarn that we are currently working with. And once you have done that, you are going to take the new yarn and insert your needle knitwise into the very first stitch. So insert your needle, and with the new yarn you are going to make a small loop and just slide that loop onto your needle and knit the first stitch. So whenever we are working with stripes, we are left with so many loose ends to weave in later on. So here is a quick tip that I always use whenever I am working with stripes to minimize the number of weave-ins that I need to do later on. So for knitting the next stitch, I'm going to hold both the tail and the working yarn together and knit the next stitch like so, and then again I'm going to knit the next stitch holding both the tails together. Next I'm going to leave the small tail that you can see right here and start working with the main yarn. So continue to knit through all the stitches till the end of the row. On the next row, we are going to purl through all the stitches. So starting with the very first stitch, you are going to insert your needle purlwise and purl through all the stitches till the end of the row. Here are the last 3 stitches remaining. So next 2 stitches are the stitches which we knit holding both the strands together. So you're going to insert through both the loops and purl them. So the tip that I showed you will help to weave the ends. As we are working with the stitches now, you can go ahead and snip this little tail and you don't have to weave it later on. Next, you are going to continue to knit in stockinette stitch for 4 more rows using the mustard color. Here I have finished working 6 rows with the mustard color. Now we are going to go ahead and change the color to this sky blue. So follow the same instructions which I have showed you earlier to change the color, and then we are going to knit with this sky blue color for the next 6 rows. So from here we are going to complete working with the sky blue color, that is total 6 rows of the sky blue, and then I'm going to add in the gray color. So this is the sequence. We are going to do 6 rows of sky blue followed by 6 rows of gray and then followed by the mustard. So continue to work with your desired color scheme, and then I will meet you once the back panel is ready. So here I have finished knitting the back panel and I ended up doing total 10 stripes, and now we are going to quickly measure our work. So lay your work on a flat surface and then we are going to take the measuring tape and do the measurements. So the length is about 12 inches. This much length is going to be enough for the back panel, and next we are going to quickly measure the width of the back panel. So the width is around 13.8, or you can say it's 14 inches. So here is the length and the width of the body. Now we are going to go ahead and bind off stitches. For the bind off, we are going to use a very simple bind off method. We are going to start off by knitting the first 2 stitches of the row. So insert a needle into the first stitch and then knit 1, and we are going to knit the second stitch. Next we are going to pass this second stitch on a right hand needle over the first one with the help of the left needle, like so. Next again knit 1, and again we are going to pass this second stitch over the first one. So it is a very simple bind off method. Using this method you are going to bind off all the stitches on your needles. Next up, we are going to divide stitches for the front panels and the neck opening. So we are going to count 20 stitches from the right hand side. You can see these chains on the very top. You are going to count 20 chains from the right hand side, and then you are going to place a stitch marker. So these stitches are the stitches for the front panel. Again, on the other side, we are going to count 20 stitches from the left hand side, and then we are going to place a stitch marker on the 20th stitch. So these two sides are for the front panels, and the number of stitches that are in the mid are going to be for the neck opening. Next, we are going to pick up 20 stitches for one of the front panels. So take the 5mm needles and then insert it on the very edge stitch like so, and then I'm going to use the same mustard color yarn. So for picking up stitches, we are going to use the top chains. Using this method, you are going to pick up total 20 stitches. Here I have finished picking up 20 stitches. Now we are going to start working in stockinette stitch. So for this time we are going to work 7 rows of stockinette stitch, starting with the wrong side. So this is going to be the first row, which is the wrong side. We are going to pull through all the stitches till the end of the row. And next we are going to turn the work, and on the right side we are going to simply knit through all the stitches. So knit in stockinette stitch for total 7 rows. Here I have finished knitting 7 rows with the mustard color. Next I am going to change color and add the gray. We are going to knit through all the stitches with this new color. On the next row we are going to pull through all the stitches, but first pull 3 stitches, and then you are going to take a stitch marker and place it after the first 3 stitches. Place the stitch marker, and next you are going to pull through all the stitches till the end of the row. From this row we are going to start increasing stitches just before the stitch marker which we have placed. So knit through all the stitches until you have reached the stitch marker. And once you reach the stitch marker, we are going to increase one stitch by casting on one stitch. For casting on, you are going to take the working yarn, wrap around your index finger like so, and you are going to drop that loop on your right hand needle and pull. So that is a cast on increase method. Next, slip the stitch marker and knit the remaining 3 stitches. So we have increased one stitch, that makes 21 stitches on our needles. And on the next row, we are going to simply purl through all the stitches till the end of the row without doing any increases. So this is the cast on stitch from the previous row. You are going to purl it as you would a normal purl stitch. On the next row, we are going to again increase one stitch. So knit all the stitches until you have reached the stitch marker. And once you reach the marker, we are going to again cast on one stitch. Next, slip the stitch marker and knit the remaining 3 stitches. So with this we have made 2 increases, that makes total 22 stitches on our needles. Next we are going to turn our work and pull through all the stitches without increasing any stitches. And once you have finished purling all the stitches, you are going to go ahead and follow the instructions that I have written on the screen and do the increases 3 more times. So we are going to do total 5 sets of increase. So here I have finished doing all the increases. We did total 5 increases. So right now I have 25 stitches on my needles, and I also did the color change to this sky blue as required. So next we are going to snip the yarn and we are going to transfer these stitches onto a spare needle. So take a spare needle and you are going to simply transfer these stitches by slipping them purlwise. These stitches are going to be on hold for now, and we are going to move on to pick up stitches for the other side of the front panel. So we are going to pick up stitches and do the increases on this side also and join them later on. And for this side I'm going to start picking up stitches from the inner side. So remove the stitch marker which we earlier placed, and we are going to start picking up 20 stitches for this side as well. Once you have finished picking up all the stitches, we are going to start working 7 rows of stockinette stitch like we did for the other side, and then I'm going to show you how to do the increases for this side. So go ahead and do 7 rows of stockinette stitch first. So I have finished doing 7 rows of stockinette stitch with this mustard color. Now I'm going to go ahead and change the color to this gray, and we are going to simply knit through all the stitches with this gray color. After you have finished knitting, we are going to take a stitch marker and place it after the first 3 stitches of this row like this, and next we are going to turn our work and pull through all the stitches on the wrong side. and we are going to start doing the increases from this row. So we are going to start by knitting the first 3 stitches that are before the stitch marker. So knit 3 and then you are going to slip the stitch marker, and we are going to cast on 1 stitch to do the increase. Cast on 1 stitch, and next you are going to knit through all the stitches till the end of the row. So that is increase row number 1 for this side. On the next row we are going to simply purl through all the stitches. We are not going to do any increases on this side. So these are the 2 increase rows that we are going to repeat for this side. I'm also going to include written instructions. So go ahead and do the increase 4 more times and do the color change in between as required, and then I will meet you later and show you how to join these 2 front panels together. So here I have finished doing all the increases and I have 25 stitches on my needles. Next we are going to join these 2 together. So before joining, we are going to snip the working yarn that is attached to this side, and we are going to transfer these stitches onto the spare needle as well. So I already have these stitches on hold. I'm going to slide those to the other side and I'm going to start transferring these stitches onto the spare needle. So I have finished transferring both the stitches on these spare needles. Next we are going to start joining them. So we're going to start working from this side. I'm going to just slide these stitches onto my needles and I'm going to start working with this mustard color. That is the sequence that I'm working with. So take the 5mm needles and you're going to start working with the mustard color. First we are going to knit through all the stitches of one side with this mustard color. And after you have finished knitting all the stitches, we are going to go ahead and cast on 8 stitches. For casting on, we are going to use the same method that we used earlier to do the increase. So cast on 8 stitches using the same method. So here are 8 stitches. Next we are going to knit these stitches that are on a spare needle and we are going to join them. So simply insert your needle through the first stitch and start working with this mustard color. So here I have finished joining the front panels and this is what the work looks like. Now we are going to turn our work and on the next row we are simply going to pull through all the stitches. So these are the cast on stitches from the previous row. Be very careful when you are purling these stitches because you can slip them off the needle. So just be very careful when you are purling these stitches and continue to purl till the end of the row. So from here we are simply going to work up the stripes. I'm going to complete this mustard color first, and then do the gray and the sky blue. So continue to knit the front panel until it is the same length as the back panel, and once we reach the bottom we are going to do the ribbing. So I finished doing the front panel and I did total 10 sets of the stripes, and at last I did 2 rows with this gray color, which is same as the back panel which we have done after the ribbing. So next we are going to switch the needle to these 4.5mm needles, and we will start doing the 1 by 1 ribbing. Take the 4.5mm needles and we will start working in 1 by 1 ribbing. So I will start with the knit stitch first. So knit 1, and next we are going to purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and continue to work in 1 by 1 ribbing till the end of the row. And we are going to do total 7 rows of 1 by 1 ribbing, same as the back panel, and then we can go ahead and do the bind off. So here I have finished knitting the ribbing. Next we are going to do the bind off, and I am currently on the wrong side of my work. So for binding off I'm going to use a different method than for the back panel. So you're going to take your needle and start with a knit stitch, knit 1. Next we have a purl stitch. We're going to purl that, and then next we are going to pass this second stitch over the first one. So lift it up with the help of your left hand needle and pass it over. Next we have a knit stitch. So we are going to knit that, pass the second stitch over the first one. Next I have a purl stitch. I'm going to purl 1, pass the second stitch over the first one. Next I have a knit stitch, knit 1, pass it over, and likewise we are going to bind off all the stitches. So this is 1 by 1 ribbed bind off. And once you have finished binding off all the stitches, you can go ahead and snip the yarn and make a knot to secure it. So here you can see it gives a really nice finishing to the 1 by 1 ribbing, and with that we have finished knitting the body. Next up we are going to start picking up stitches for the sleeves. So for picking up the stitches, I'm going to start from this stripe right here, and I'm going to use total 5 stripes from the front panel and 5 stripes from the back panel. So if you're working with a solid color, it is about 5.5 inches from the shoulder seam. We are going to use 5mm needles, and I'm going to start from the very bottom stitch of this gray stripe. So if you look closely, let me focus a bit. So if you look closely, here are the bumpy looking edge stitches. We are not going to use those to pick up stitches. We are going to use these neat looking stitches which is right after the edge stitch. So you're going to take your 5mm needles and insert into the very bottom stitch of the gray stripe like so, and then take the sky blue yarn, make a loop and pick up one stitch. Next, insert your needle into the next stitch, the V-shaped stitch, and pick up another stitch. Next, insert on the V stitch and pick up one. And next we are going to skip one stitch. We are not going to pick up on this next stitch. Skip that and pick up next 3 stitches. So this is the rate of the pickup that we are going to follow. We are going to pick up 3 stitches, skip 1, pick up 3 stitches, skip 1, and so on. So skip the next one and we are going to again pick up 3 stitches. So likewise you are going to continue to pick up all the stitches till the shoulder seam. So up until here I have finished picking up 24 stitches, and from the shoulder seam you are going to continue with the same rate, that is pick up 3 stitches, skip 1 stitch, and so on, and continue to pick up stitches until the 5th stripe from the shoulder, or 5.5 inches from the shoulder seam. So I ended up picking 48 stitches in total. Now we are going to start working up our sleeves. So we are going to knit 5 rows of stockinette stitch with this sky blue color. That is, on the wrong side you are going to purl through all the stitches, and on the right side you are going to knit through all the stitches, and you are going to do this for 5 rows in total. So let's go ahead and do that first. Here I have finished knitting 5 rows with this sky blue color. Next I'm going to do the color change. I'm going to add in the gray color, and we are going to knit 2 rows of stockinette stitch with the new color, and then I'm going to show you how to do the decrease. So from here we are going to start shaping the sleeve a little bit and do the decreases as we go. So go ahead and do 2 rows with this new color. So here I have finished doing 2 rows with the gray color. Now we are going to start the decrease. So we're going to knit the first stitch of the row. So knit 1, and then for decreasing the stitch we are going to knit 2 stitches together. So insert your needle through both the stitches like so, and then you are going to knit these 2 stitches as one. Knit both the stitches and you have finished decreasing 1 stitch. Next, take a stitch marker and place it on the decrease which you have done just now. This is going to help you remember where you have done the decrease later on, so it is going to be really easy to remember. So place the stitch marker, and next you are going to continue to knit through all the stitches until you have the last 3 stitches remaining of the row. Here again I have the last 3 stitches remaining. I'm going to do knit 2 together to decrease 1 stitch. So insert a needle through 2 stitches and knit them as one, and knit the very last stitch. So with that we have finished decreasing 2 stitches on this row. We started off with 48, now we have 46. Now I'm going to go ahead and complete my gray stripe. I did total 3 rows up until now. I'm going to knit 3 more rows with this gray color and do the color change, and I will meet you there. Here I have finished doing the gray stripe. Now we are going to go ahead and change color. I'm going to add in this mustard yellow, and we are going to knit 2 rows with this new color and then do the decrease. So go ahead and knit 2 rows of stockinette stitch with this new color of yarn. After you have finished knitting 2 rows, we are going to do the decrease. So knit the first stitch and then we are going to do knit 2 together, knit 2 stitches together, and continue to knit all the stitches up until you have the last 3 stitches remaining of the row. Once you get there, we are going to again do knit 2 together and knit the very last stitch. So we have finished doing the decrease on this row as well. You can kind of see the decreased stitches. One is right here and one we have done just now. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this yellow stripe. I'm going to do 3 more rows with this yellow and do the color change. So basically we're decreasing stitches every 5 rows. We are going to do 1 set of decrease, knit 5 rows and do another decrease, and in between you are going to do the color changes as required. And do not forget to place a stitch marker once you have finished doing the decrease. It is going to help you a lot to later on remember where you have done the decrease. And if you are getting confused, I'm going to include written instructions on the screen. Just go ahead and follow that. And we are going to do total 6 sets of decrease. 2 sets we have completed. Now we need to do 4 more decrease rows. So go ahead and follow these instructions and I will meet you once I have finished doing the last set of decrease. So here I have completed doing all the 6 sets of decrease, and here are the stitch markers which I placed on every decrease row, and I have completed total 6 stripes from the shoulder seam, and of the very last color, that is this sky blue, I have knit 4 rows. So we started off with 48 stitches, and then after 6 sets of decrease we have left 36 stitches on our needles, and next we are going to go ahead and start ribbing, and we are going to do one final set of decrease before we start knitting the cuff. So I think I have accidentally deleted the next portion of the video, but I'm going to include detailed instructions on the screen. You can go ahead and follow these instructions and complete knitting the sleeve. And once you have finished knitting one sleeve, follow the same instructions to knit another sleeve as well. Once you have finished knitting both the sleeves, we are going to move on to seaming up the sides. And later on we are going to do the neck ribbing. So first of all, I'm going to remove the stitch markers from the sleeves which I had placed earlier, and then we will start seaming up the sides. And for joining the panels together, I'm going to use the mattress stitch. And for doing that, you're going to need a darning needle and some scrap yarn. I'm going to use the gray yarn here. So we are going to start from the bottom of the body. I'm just going to go ahead and insert my needle into the very base of the body like so, and make a knot to secure it in place. And next up we are going to start doing the mattress stitch. If you don't know about the mattress stitch, it gives a really nice seamless finishing to your knitting piece. So here are the edge stitches, which is the first stitch of every row, and it is a bit wonky, so we are not going to use that. If you just stretch your work a bit, just beside the edge stitch, you can see these small horizontal bars that runs up along your knitting piece. So it is this little horizontal line that we are going to use to do the mattress stitch. And like this, if you just stretch your work, you can see these small horizontal lines. We are going to use that, and it is same on the other side. So let us go ahead and start doing our mattress stitch. But first, go ahead and secure your needle in place by passing it a few times, and then we can start doing the mattress stitch. But before we start, I would like to say that since our piece is a striped piece, you have to be really careful in aligning the pieces together, otherwise the stripes are going to end up being wonky and it is not going to look nice. So just you can also go ahead and use stitch markers to hold the pieces in place. So you're going to pick up 2 horizontal bars from underneath like so. Just pass your needle through, but don't pull the yarn too tight at this point. Go on the other side and pick up 2 bars and alternate that between 2 panels like I am showing you in the video. Just continue to pick up these bars a few times, and once you have picked up quite a few stitches, you can go ahead and pull this yarn quite firmly to close up the panels together. And as you can see, it gives a really nice seamless finish to my work, which I really love about the mattress stitch. So we have our yarn ending on this side. Next we are going to start picking up stitches from the opposite side, and just continue to pick up stitches a few times and then pull the yarn to close up the panels together as we did just now. But I'm working here in sections, so I'm going to work with each stripe, so that way I have a very clear idea if my stripes are coming along together really nicely or not. And if my stripes are not aligned properly, I can just rip apart this particular section and redo the piece so that I can have a really neat looking piece. So here I have finished doing mattress stitch for 2 stripes, and as you can see, it gives a really nice finishing to my work. And I would really encourage you guys to take your time to align your stripes properly, because if you align them properly, it is going to give you a really nice seamless finish. Now we are going to continue to do the mattress stitch all along the body and continue along the sleeve, and I will meet you once we have finished sewing up the sleeves and the body. So here I have finished joining both the sides, and as you can see, the mattress stitch gives it a really nice seamless finishing. And next up we are going to knit the collar, and for knitting the collar we are going to use this 4.5mm circular needles. You're either going to need circular needles or double pointed needles for this one because we'll be knitting in the round. So I'm going to start picking up stitches from the shoulder seam using this blue yarn. And for picking up the stitches, we are not going to use the edge stitch. We are going to use the stitch which is right after or beside the edge stitch, which is the second stitch of the row, because the edge stitches are a bit untidy because we didn't do slip stitch for every row, so that's why it is going to be a bit wonky. So insert your needle right into the shoulder seam first and start picking up stitches. And here's the section where we actually join the two front panels using the cast on stitches, and here you are going to pick up stitches just below the cast on stitches like I'm showing you, and continue to pick up stitches all along the neckline up until the shoulder seam from where we started. I ended up picking 68 stitches. You may have a little more or less, but make sure that you have even number of stitches since we will be knitting in the round in 1 by 1 ribbing. Since the needle that I'm using is quite long, I'm going to use the magic loop method. So we are going to divide our stitches into 3 rough sections, and we are going to slide 2 sections onto our needles like I am showing you. And one of the sections is just going to stay on the cable itself. You should have a sort of triangular shape like this. If you are totally new to the concept of magic loop method, make sure to watch a short tutorial before you start knitting in the round. So basically, we have divided our stitches into 3 sections so that it is easy for us to work in the round on a very large needle. So just go ahead and grab a stitch marker, and next we are going to start knitting in the round. So we are going to start our round number 1 with a knit stitch. Knit 1, next purl 1, knit 1, purl 1. You're going to knit 1, purl 1 till the end of this round number 1. So I've reached the end of row number 1, and we are going to finish it with a purl stitch. Next, you're going to slide this stitch marker onto your right hand needle and just continue to knit again in 1 by 1 ribbing. So starting off with a knit stitch, you're going to continue to knit in 1 by 1 ribbing. and we are going to do total 5 rows of 1 by 1 ribbing. So go ahead and do that. So here is the very last stitch of round number 5, and with that I have finished knitting all the ribbing. Now you can go ahead and remove the stitch marker. Next up we are going to start binding off stitches, and I'm going to use a different method than the body and the sleeves, and it is called the Rook's cast off method. It is a very stretchy bind off method. So for doing that, you are going to wrap the yarn around your neckline quite loosely like so, and you are going to triple this length. So it is roughly going to give us the amount of yarn that we are going to need for doing the cast off. And once you have the required amount of yarn, just grab a tapestry needle and let's start doing the cast off. So before we start doing the cast off, we are going to transfer this very last stitch that we did onto the left hand needle like so, and then next we can start doing the cast off. So for doing the cast off, we are going to insert our tapestry needle purlwise to the first 3 stitches. So insert your needle purlwise to the first 3 stitches and pass it through. And next you are going to slide off the first stitch of the needle like this. Next, your working yarn is coming through the front, you can see right here. You're going to again insert your needle through first 3 stitches like this, and slide off 1 stitch. Again the working yarn is coming out through the front right here. Next again you are going to insert your needle purlwise through first 3 stitches and slide off 1 stitch. Again insert purlwise through first 3 stitches and slide off the first stitch. So I personally think this cast off method is super easy and gives very nice stretchy finish to the neckline. So using this method you are going to continue to bind off all the stitches, and I'm going to show you how to finish off this bind off method once we reach the end of our round. So here I have the last 3 stitches. Just pass your needle purlwise through the 3 stitches, slide 1 off. Now you have 2 stitches remaining. Pass your needle purlwise through 2 stitches, slide off 1, and at last you have 1 stitch remaining. You are going to insert your needle purlwise through that and slip off. And we have finished doing the bind off method. Now let's quickly just close up this gap. And finally I finished doing all the cast off, and I am really happy with how this turned out. I personally think that this method is really useful for binding off method for the neckline, because it gives a really nice stretch to the neckline. And with that we have officially finished knitting our sweater. So next up I just have to weave in all these loose ends, but I'm not going to bother weaving in each and every loose end. I'm going to weave in a few ends, and for the rest of it I'm going to just tie few knots and call it a day, because weaving in ends of a striped sweater can be a really tedious job, and I'm just not going to do that. Here is the final piece. I'm so happy with how this turned out. Now let's go ahead and do the measurements. So I'm laying my work on a flat surface, and the body width is about 13.2. You can say it's 13 inches, and the sleeves is 5 inches wide at the shoulder seam, and at the cuff it is about 3.5 inches. So I forgot to mention the body height. Here I'm going to include it on the screen. That was it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and please do not forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel if you like my content. It really means a lot to me. Till then, I will see you next time. Bye bye and take care.